The plasma bolt screamed past Hayden Foster's left ear, close enough to singe a line through his hair and leave the left side of his jaw tingling. He hit the dirt hard and rolled behind the rusted-out hull of an old water tanker, his heartbeat spiking like a drum solo in a bad war movie. "Holy hell," he muttered, pressing his back to the metal, panting. "That thing missed me by an inch." He wasn't exaggerating, he could still smell the scorched air. He'd been delivering a crate of water filtration cores to Outpost 12 on the edge of the Martian settlement perimeter when everything went sideways. One moment, clear skies and a quiet drive through the red dust. The next, a beam of blue plasma narrowly avoided making his skull a crater. Hayden peeked around the tanker. The creature stood 50 yards out, perched atop the ridge like it had been carved from graphite. It was tall, maybe 7 feet, with a matte black exosuit that shimmered faintly as it adjusted to the sunlight. Its weapon looked like a fusion between a sniper rifle and a lightning rod, and it was very much pointed in his direction. Hayden ducked back. "I didn't even do anything," he shouted at the dirt. He reached for his calm. "Control, this is Foster. I've got an unknown assailant, heavily armed, possibly alien. Took a shot at me, missed by barely a hair. I need backup." Now static, then a crackle. "Repeat, Foster, did you say alien?" "Yes, alien, not Martian, not rogue drone, not some drunk prospector with a railgun. Alien. Copy." "Hold your position. We're scrambling recon now. Eat a 30 minutes. 30 minutes? I don't have 30 minutes. You're the one who survived the first shot. Try not to get lucky twice." Hayden swore and killed the calm. He took a careful breath and considered his options. He had a sidearm, a standard 6-shot kinetic pistol, and a multi-tool that might be useful if the alien decided to come closer, and he needed to weld something shut in a panic. Another blast scorched the tanker above his head. This one was lower, more deliberate. The alien was adjusting. Okay, think," he whispered. "Why is it shooting at me? Why only one shot so far? Why not finish the job when it had the chance?" He dared a glance over the top of the tanker. The creature hadn't moved. "Maybe you're not supposed to miss," he muttered. Maybe that was a mistake. On the far ridge, the alien shifted slightly, then lowered its weapon. Hayden blinked. What the thing picked up a small handheld device, aimed it at him, then pressed a button. It blinked blue, then red, then blue again. "Is that a scanner?" His thoughts were interrupted by the distant whine of engines. A drone patrol. The alien turned its head toward the sound. Then it vanished, no smoke, no flash, just gone. Hayden staggered out from behind the tanker, weapon still raised. The sky was empty. The ridge was empty. The only thing left was a faint scorch mark where the creature had stood and the smell of ozone in the dusty air. A recon drone hovered overhead. It scanned him, beeped, then projected a hologram of a woman in a flight suit. "Foster, you look like hell." "Thanks, Samara." "You're late. Traffic on the orbital relay. You okay?" "I got shot at by an alien sharpshooter. And I mean that literally. It missed me by 1 inch. Samara Shaw's expression didn't change, but her eyes narrowed. "That's oddly specific." "I measured it with my life." "Did it say anything?" "Nope, it just missed, then scanned me, then vanished." Samara tapped something on her wrist console. "We'll sweep the area, see if there's any radiation trail. Maybe we can trace its jump signature." While the drones fanned out, Hayden sat on the back of his transport, rubbing his jaw where the heat from the bolt had singed his stubble. "Why would it scan me?" "Maybe it was verifying a target," Samara said. "Or maybe it wasn't supposed to miss." Hayden looked up. "You think someone sent it to kill me?" "I don't know, but I'm putting you under temporary lockdown until we figure it out." "Fantastic. And you'll need a full medical scan. That bolt passed close enough to potentially damage soft tissue." "We'll run neuro and dermal tests. Even better." The tests were done at the Outpost medbay. 2 hours later, Hayden sat with a wrap across his jawline, sipping water and trying not to pick at the tender skin. Dr. Emmel, the Outpost physician, ran the last of the scans. No neurological damage. "Just surface heat exposure. You're lucky. A couple centimeters closer and we'd be talking facial reconstruction." "Yeah, I figured." Samara entered with a datapad. We found something, that scorch pattern on the ridge. It matches known energy signatures from the Athalex Confederacy. Hayden blinked. The what? They're a splinter group, not officially hostile but not friendly either, mostly keep to their own sectors, known for precision strikes and assassinations. Assassinations. I'm a water core technician. Not according to this. She handed him the datapad. It showed a grainy photo of him unloading cargo containers. The caption read, Subject, Hayden Foster, confirmed consort of Terran intelligence. Clearance level 7. What the hell is this, you tell me? I've never worked for intelligence. I fix water systems. I once spent 3 weeks repairing a sewer pump in a dome that smelled like boiled fish. Someone planted this, either to use you as a decoy or to provoke a response. But it worked. The Athalex sent a shooter. But he missed. Barely. Which means you're either extremely lucky or he wasn't supposed to kill you. Hayden leaned back, heart pounding again. So what now? We have to assume they'll try again. Great. You'll be transferred to Lunar Base 3 under protection until we figure out why someone marked you. The transfer was quiet. 2 days later, Hayden was on the moon under a new alias, escorted by 2 silent security officers who never removed their visors. He spent the first week pacing the habitat, flinching at shadows and going over every moment of that Martian incident. The shooter hadn't just missed, it had scanned him afterward. Something about that still didn't add up. On day 10, the base lost power, just for a second, but when the lights flickered back, Hayden's door was open. He stepped into the hallway, sidearm drawn. Security? No response. Just the hum of emergency protocols kicking in. He moved toward the central atrium. The lights there were still off. In the dark, he saw it. The silhouette, tall, still, watching. He raised his pistol. Don't move. The figure stepped forward into the faint light. It was the same alien. Hayden fired. The kinetic bolt passed through empty air. The creature shimmered, then solidified behind him. He spun, but it was too fast. It knocked the weapon from his hand and held up a small device. A translator. You are not the target, it said, the voice mechanical but clear. Hayden froze. What? You were misidentified. The real target was another. You matched profile parameters. Mistake has been logged. You nearly killed me. Regret is noted. The creature stepped back. This visitation is final. You are not of interest. Wait, why scan me? To confirm identity. The margin of error was unacceptable. Protocol required a scan. Hayden's hands were shaking. You're telling me you almost vaporized me because of a bad file? Yes. And now that you know I'm not who you thought, I just go back to my life. No, you have been seen. You are now observed. Others may not accept error. Remain cautious. The alien turned, shimmered, and vanished again. The lights came back on. Security found him minutes later, pale and trembling. He didn't resist when they sedated him. He spent the next month under observation. More tests, more questions. No one else saw the alien. No one else believed it had returned, but he knew he hadn't been the target. He'd been the mistake. Hayden hadn't slept in 3 days. Sleep required a kind of trust. He no longer possessed trust that the walls around him weren't permeable, that locked doors meant something, that if something shimmered into existence again, someone else might actually be around to witness it. He sat cross-legged on the padded floor of the lunar containment suite, shoulders hunched, fingers twitching with phantom adrenaline. The lights overhead had been dimmed to ease neural fatigue, but they only made his thoughts noisier. Too quiet, too still conditions under which memories got loud. The alien's words hadn't faded, not even slightly. You are now observed. He tried to tell the base psych officer, but the man, pleasant, blank-faced, too quick with his nods, had taken notes with the kind of enthusiasm that suggested he was already running a psychological deviation profile. At 0300 or whatever passed for that on the moon's artificial cycle, Hayden stood and pulled on the monitoring vest they'd given him, thin, white, and wired with sensors that clung to his skin like persistent cobwebs. He paced. Again. 10 laps around the room, pausing only when the retinal scanner at the door blinked yellow. It always blinked yellow. Access denied. He leaned his forehead against the cool metal panel. "This is ridiculous," he whispered. "I didn't do anything." The panel didn't argue. By the time the door hissed open 8 hours later, Hayden had almost convinced himself he wasn't about to be relocated again. But instead of another silent security officer or another bored medtech, the person who stepped in was neither. She was tall, pale, with a narrow face made narrower by the tight braid wrapped around her head like a crown. Her uniform wasn't from the lunar base. It bore no Terran insignia, just a silver pin shaped like an open eye. "I'm not interested in being interviewed by intelligence," Hayden said before she could speak. "I'm not with intelligence. They're not allowed in this wing." He raised an eyebrow. "Then who are you?" "Nerl, observer to the Interplanetary Accord." "I'm here because your presence triggered a multi-species inquiry code." "Fantastic." "I've been here less than 2 weeks and I've already triggered a code. You're the first human in over 6 solar cycles to survive a direct encounter with an Athilex execution caste operative." "I didn't survive it. He missed." Nerl didn't react. "That's the part we're most concerned about." Hayden dropped onto the cot and rubbed the bridge of his nose. "You want to know why he didn't finish the job? No, we want to know why he was sent at all. The Athilex don't miss. They also don't scan targets post-engagement. That behavior doesn't match any known protocol for their operatives." He said it was a misidentification. "I've reviewed the base footage," Nerl said. "The moment you describe when he appeared again in the lunar corridor, there is no visual record of it, not even heat signature anomalies. The base systems show a power fluctuation, but nothing else." Hayden looked up. "You think I imagined it? I think you're the first person to provoke a deviation in an Athilex operative, and deviations matter." She handed him a small, flat device. It projected a 3-dimensional model of the alien's weapon, the one he'd seen aimed at his chest. "This is the Model 2 Helix Lance. It doesn't have a non-lethal setting. It's designed to ionize carbon-based tissue instantly." Hayden stared at it. "Then how am I still here? That's the question." He stood slowly. "So what do you want from me? Not what, where," he frowned. "Where? There's a delegation arriving from the Athilex Confederacy. They've requested your presence. Request denied. They don't make casual requests. If we refuse, they may interpret it as confirmation that we're hiding something." "I'm not something. I'm just a guy who fixes filtration systems." Nerl studied him for a moment. "You've become a variable. And variables destabilize treaties." 2 days later, Hayden stood inside the vacuum-sealed observation chamber at the edge of the lunar base's diplomatic sector. It had taken 8 layers of authorizations to get him through. He wore a formal jumpsuit that itched at the collar and a biometric band that kept his vitals streaming live to 3 different monitoring stations. Beyond the glass, the chamber's far door opened. The alien who stepped through was different from the first. Broader shoulders, heavier plating, and 2 sets of optical sensors instead of 1. It moved as if gravity bored it. Hayden didn't breathe. The translator activated. "You are the anomaly," the alien said, "so I've been told. I reviewed the operative's tactical feed. You are not the anomaly in the data. You were the anomaly in behavior." Hayden blinked. "Whose behavior?" "Our operatives. He should not have missed. He should not have scanned. He should not have returned." "I didn't ask him to." The alien tilted its head. "You did not, but he did. And the Confederacy must now determine why." "I don't have that answer. You may. Subconsciously. I'm not a spy. I've never even met one." "That is not the relevant factor. Your presence altered expected outcomes. That makes you a factor." Behind the glass, Nerl watched silently. Her hand hovered near the override panel. Hayden crossed his arms. "So what do you want to do? Cut open my head and look for secrets? Your physiology is not unique. Your psychology may be. We wish to conduct a controlled simulation under observation." "What kind of simulation?" "We will recreate the conditions of the encounter. You will respond as you did. We will record deviations. You want me to relive being almost killed?" "Yes." Hayden turned to the glass. You're really gonna let this happen? Neryl's voice filtered through the intercom. There's a failsafe. The simulation is neural, no physical harm, he exhaled. Fine, but if I see that thing again, I swear I'm punching it. The simulation began with a subtle shift in air pressure. Hayden found himself standing in the Martian outpost perimeter again, the red dust curling around his boots. The sky was bruised with low clouds just like that day. He turned. The tanker was there, the ridge, the faint glint of metal. Then the bolt screamed past his head, his knees buckled. He hit the ground again. No, this isn't real, he muttered. You already told me. The alien appeared on the ridge, the same model. It raised the weapon. Hayden didn't move. This time the bolt hit the tanker 3 meters to the left of where he'd been. A wild miss. He stood slowly. Why did you miss? He shouted. The alien lowered the weapon. You blinked. What? In the moment of firing, you blinked. The operative adjusted. That's not a reason. It is. A human blink at that distance is a measurable variable. The operative recalculated mid-shot. That recalculation introduced error. Hayden stared. You're saying I survived because I blinked? Yes. The simulation froze back in the chamber. Hayden pulled the neural interface off his head. His skin was clammy, his palms shaking. Neryl looked at the alien. Are you satisfied? The alien's response was immediate. An error caused by human micro-reflex. This is unacceptable. Our cast will reconfigure targeting protocols. Hayden laughed once. It sounded too sharp. You're rewriting your assassination program because I blinked. You introduced chaos into a closed system. He sat down hard. You people have no idea how often we do that. Neryl nodded. He's not dangerous, he's just human. The alien turned toward the exit. Then perhaps that is the danger. That night, Hayden was returned to his suite. No guards, no locks, just silence. He didn't sleep. Instead, he sat by the viewport, watching the Earth rise slowly over the lunar horizon. He blinked. Somewhere far away, protocols were being rewritten. Because of that blink, because of him, he didn't know whether to be proud or terrified, maybe both. Hayden woke to the dull clink of utensils on ceramic. The scent of something warm and unfamiliar drifted through the air vents, spiced, vegetal, with a hint of burnt ozone. Not unpleasant, just unplaceable. He sat up slowly, joints stiff from sleeping upright in the chair by the viewport. His body ached in that way only a long stretch of adrenaline withdrawal could deliver. Not pain, exactly just the heavy complaint of a system that had been on high alert too long. Across the room, Neryl stood beside a small table now inexplicably set with a meal. That wasn't here last night, Hayden said. No, it arrived 2 cycles ago. The Athilex sent it. He eyed the gray-green cubes arranged with surgical precision on the plate. Is it a peace offering? They don't do offerings. It's more of a test. They want to see if you'll eat it. Is it safe? I ran it through 3 scanners. No toxins, no pathogens, no nanotech. It's food, or their version of it. He picked up the fork, turned it in his hand. Why does it smell like a power converter? Probably because it's fermented in a high-oxygen environment under synthetic gravity. They believe it enhances clarity. Clarity of what? Purpose, thought, movement, take your pick. Hayden speared a cube and hesitated. They're still watching, aren't they? Of course, he chewed slowly. The texture was somewhere between tofu and rubber glove, but the flavor wasn't as bad as he expected, sharp, oddly citrusy, with a metallic aftertaste that reminded him of licking a battery as a kid. Not terrible, he said. Neryl took a seat across from him. You've caused a diplomatic correction that spanned 3 systems. The Confederacy has issued its first official revision to execution cast doctrine in over a century. I blinked. You interrupted a closed-loop algorithm that hadn't been altered since before humanity left its own atmosphere. That's not nothing. He pushed another cube around the plate. So what now? Do I get a medal, a parade, a job as an interstellar eye model? You get clearance to return to your life. He stopped, fork halfway to his mouth. That's it, Neryl nodded once. No debriefings, no relocation. No more simulations where I nearly wet myself. You've been cleared by both the Accord and the Confederacy. The Confederacy will no longer pursue you. You are catalogued as a statistical aberration, not a threat, which is the nicest thing anyone's ever called me. You're free to board a transport back to Mars or Earth within the next cycle, your choice. Hayden leaned back, exhaling. I honestly thought this would end with me in a cryopod somewhere. It nearly did, but you made it. Complicated, I do that, she stood. There's one thing left, he blinked. I thought everything was resolved. It is, but you changed something. And not just with the Athalex. He followed her into the corridor, where the lighting had shifted to a soft amber, an indication that the base was entering its rest period soon. Down the hall, a door slid open with a hiss. Inside sat a single figure, humanoid, but unmistakably not human. Unlike the operative on Mars, this one had no armor, no weapons. Just deep gray skin that looked almost translucent under the overhead lights, and a pair of eyes that didn't blink at all. Hayden hesitated. It's not a trap, Neril said. I'm starting to think that's what people say right before it is. She didn't respond, just stepped aside. The figure stood as he entered. Its limbs moved with fluid economy, like it had spent years practicing every gesture in a mirror. Hayden Foster, it said. You can just call me Hayden. Everyone else does, or did, before I got almost evaporated. I am not the one you encountered, but I've studied the incident. The operative who engaged you has been reassigned for recalibration. Recalibration? That sounds like the polite version of a firing squad. No. He has requested deactivation until resolution is reached. Hayden frowned. Wait, he volunteered to shut himself off? Yes. Why? Because he is uncertain. Hayden rubbed the back of his neck. That's weirdly human. The figure tilted its head slightly. He experienced a failure that cannot be explained within our current models. You introduced unpredictability. That is not something we tolerate, but it is something we must now understand. Look, I didn't mean to mess with your protocols. I was just trying not to die. And in doing so, you forced a change in our perception of your species. Hayden crossed his arms. So what, am I supposed to represent humanity now, make speeches, shake tentacles? No, you have already represented them. Through reaction. The figure gestured toward the chair across from it. Hayden sat cautiously. There is a proposal, it said. You just told me everything was resolved. Why is there still a proposal, a personal one, from the operative? He has requested that you receive something he believes may help both of you. The figure reached into a compartment behind it and retrieved a small object, flat, circular, about the size of a coin with a shifting pattern of light running across its surface. What is it? A record. Of his experience, compressed into a singular mnemonic loop, it contains only the moment of the miss, his perception of it. Hayden took it carefully. It was warm. Why give this to me? He believes you might understand it better than we do. No pressure then. The figure stood. You are free to destroy it or not. The choice is yours. Back in his quarters, Hayden turned the coin over in his hands. The light shifted every time he blinked, like it was reacting to the motion. He set it on the table and stared at it for a long time. Later, he didn't know how much later, he boarded a transport bound for Mars. Neril met him at the hatch. You're not taking a security team? She asked. No need. You're really going back to water cores. Yeah, someone's got to keep the filters running. Otherwise, everything smells like warm algae. She didn't smile, but there was something in her eyes that softened. Don't lose that recording. He patted his pack. It's in there. Along with my last clean pair of socks and a protein bar I'm not sure is still edible. Good luck, Hayden. He paused at the threshold. You ever think maybe the universe just wanted to see what a human would do under pressure? I think the universe got more than it bargained for. He stepped into the transport, the hatch sealed behind him, and the engines began their slow hum. As the lunar base shrank in the viewport, Hayden leaned back in his seat and closed his eyes. The coin sat in his palm. He blinked, and the pattern shifted.